we'll get going. So what is it that I do? Just briefly, I am a neuropsychotherapist and traditional naturopathic doctor. So I end up doing a lot of different things with people in practice. And what I end up getting asked about a lot is why people cannot lose weight when I have them on some of their programs. And so I wanted to go over how do you get into fat burning? And if you're not getting into fat burning, what might be going on? And I want to talk about things that you normally aren't considering that really need to be kind of on the landscape, okay? So if you do not have a place to take notes, please get something so that you can take notes, because I'm going to try to just give you a ton of information about how to get into fat loss and maybe what you're not considering, okay? And let me turn up, let me give myself just a little bit more, let's see, a little bit more light. Hopefully there, feel a little bit brighter. Okay, inflammation. If you're not losing weight, if you're not getting into fat burning, I want you to be thinking about inflammation. Okay, so you can get traditional diet information anywhere. So when you come and listen to something I'm talking about, you're probably looking for some out-of-the-box thinking. And so this is a little bit of that out-of-the-box thinking. I'll tackle some of the obvious stuff, but I want you really thinking about inflammation, because that's going to be getting in the way if you swear you're doing everything and you're not losing weight, okay? All right, so we gotta get out of the way of inflammation. Now, some of that's really traditional, and it's really the food piece of things. And I'll talk to you about how food could be causing some of that inflammation as well. But just big picture, think about inflammation. So we got inflammation. What are the things that could create inflammation? All right, so you're gonna think about types of food, okay? Food sensitivities. All right, so types of food, and then your food sensitivities, okay? You're gonna think about sleep playing into this as well. Not just are you going to bed, but it's gonna be when, how much, and what type, okay? Because the type of sleep you're getting is gonna be playing into the inflammatory process as well. Sugar, okay? Now, sugar seems like it would show up with food, and it does, but sugar also shows up with stress, all right? So sugar is a big player here, okay? We've got exercise, all right? And exercise is important. Sugar ties into exercise as well, because sometimes we're doing the wrong kind of exercise for our body, and we're increasing our level of sugar, okay, that our body is up against, and we're maybe not exercising enough. I think during the pandemic, with everything closed, people have not been exercising enough, and as you're trying to exercise more, you want to be thinking about the type of exercise you're doing. Infections are a big player when it comes to trying to lose weight, and people who come to me have a ton of subclinical infections that are causing all kinds of problems. So maybe they're coming to me because it's causing mental health problems or something else, but they're also struggling with weight loss. So I want you to think about infections, subclinical infections. Pain. If you are hurting, you are probably not losing, okay? So if there's a lot of pain in your body, you're going to have higher inflammation levels, and that's going to block your ability to lose fat as well. You're not going to be a fat burner the way that you want to be, okay? And how you are using fasting, because I know everybody and their mama is fasting now, and fasting needs to be used properly. So fasting can create more inflammation and stress in the body if it is not done properly, and plays into that whole inflammatory high sugar process in the body. So you need to watch how you're doing the fasting. Okay, so let's pull all the way out. What you have at the top of your notes is, okay, the reason I'm not losing as much fat as I think I'm supposed to be losing, despite thinking I'm doing everything, is because of inflammation. And I have this long list of things that now feed into inflammation that I can actually work on, but I maybe was not thinking about, okay? So that's where we currently are. All right, so let's start to tackle those. easy to look at is food. Okay, so I'm going to say the thing I always say. I have created all these meal plans over the years based on the concept of food quality as well as quantity. Okay, because that really matters. So the food quality, I am of the thinking that, and most of the people who are following me on Facebook or know me, or probably just on Facebook based on Facebook demographics, are going to be probably in their late 30s and older. This group of individuals are going to have to think about food differently than the 18 to 28 year old. You don't have that metabolism anymore. You are not as young as you once were. So your food quality has to shift with your metabolism aging, okay? Because it's just not going to work the way it did when you were younger. I am of the mindset that a lot of us are eating foods that we can no longer eat. And we need to take a lot of the foods that cause inflammation off the table. So, I like to take out dairy and gluten and corn and peanuts and eggs for a little bit. I like to take out a lot of high inflammation foods. See if you don't lose weight at doing that. See if you're not as inflamed there. And then later reintroduce those foods. The Crave Detox lifestyle, the sugar detox, is totally built on the concept that you can't eat certain foods anymore because of food sensitivities, okay? Now, not only that, but you need to be eating more organic foods because your body is having a harder time detoxing. So you have to eat organic, low pesticide foods. You need to eat things that are not going to be more of a burden and cause more inflammation in your body. So we're back to that inflammation. So all of my programs feature organic food. They feature foods that are not going to trigger food sensitivity reactions, because I think a lot of people are actually struggling with weight loss because of the wrong choice of the foods that they're eating. So I talk about the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. Please look at that. Please Google that. That's an easy place today for you to start. Maybe you need to be snobbier about the food that you're eating. Maybe even though you're not gluten intolerant, you just don't do well with gluten, okay? You don't even have to be gluten, quote unquote, intolerant. I run a lot of labs. I find that when I start looking at people's gut health, their gut is having a problem with gluten, and there's antibodies in their digestive tract. Guess what that's going to cause? What was our I word? Inflammation. Okay, so even if you test that you're not celiac, you may still be sensitive to gluten and not be aware of it. I see this day in and day out in my practice, and that does make things a lot more difficult for you. Okay, so you've got quality of food, food sensitivities being an issue, and you can do food sensitivity labs, but you can also do like we do in our programs and pull things out. And then we have food quantity, which I think everyone's aware of, right? So it's how much are you eating? And that could be problematic for you when it comes to fat loss. Maybe you're not eating enough, or maybe you're eating too much and not aware of it, okay? So those are the pieces with food. So really look at that, really critically look at that. You have questions, please post those. All right, so then I went to sleep. Now, I recommend somewhere between 7 to 8 hours of sleep nightly. So 7 to 8 hours of sleep nightly. But you also need to make sure that you are staying asleep, and you need to make sure you're going to sleep by 11 o'clock. Not going to bed on time, not getting enough sleep, and not going into deep enough sleep will cause you to be more inflamed. And if you are not sleeping properly, if you're not doing the things that I just said properly, then you're going to be more inflamed and you're going to have a hard time losing weight. Two important things that happen during sleep that are imperative to fat loss, fat loss. You heal during sleep, so your body does a lot of healing during sleep. Okay, there's a lot of repair during sleep. If you're not repairing, you're going to stay inflamed. You're not going to lose weight, okay? We all have to be grown-ups. We have got to get sleep. This one's a really basic one, but I can't tell you how many people just won't go to sleep and stay asleep. So you have to heal while you're sleeping. The second thing that's so important is detoxification. Your body cleans itself at night. If it is not allowed to do its detoxification processes, you will just become a little toxic individual who is not losing fat. There are two types of detox. Now, well, there's a lot of detox, but for this talk, your body is detoxing, but something that they did not realize when I first started talking about all this a long time ago is that your brain detoxes as well. So there's a lymphatic system for your brain to do detoxification called glymphatic detoxification, okay? Those two types of detox are super important to prevent inflammation. So again, if you're not sleeping, you're not detoxing properly. And if you're not getting into that deep sleep, and you're not getting deep, high quality sleep, you're not getting your body cleaned out. Just as a side note, just a small tangent, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you need to be doing to finish off this detoxification is hydrating. Lots of water, not coffee. You don't eat, you don't drink a Mountain Dew. We don't need to be drinking those anyway. But if that's something that you do, that is the wrong time to do it. When you wake up, you need to hydrate. And then some of you know about the lemon water and things like that, but that's not for today's talk. Please hydrate because you need to finish that detoxification process because your liver needs a kick, and then you need to have a bowel movement and all those things before you start pouring a lot of things into your body or you start eating. So really complete that detoxification, okay? All right, so we're still talking inflammation, and what you just heard is if you're not sleeping, you're not getting that deep sleep, there's a couple of reasons that you would be inflamed. All right, pain. So I threw pain out there. If you hurt, there's I deal with a lot of pain in my body for a variety of reasons not appropriate for this talk, and I've really had to manage that. That increases the level of sugar. My blood sugar is higher than it should be based off of how I eat because I'm always dealing with a pain syndrome in my body. A lot of my clients who have autoimmune issues deal with pain. I tell all my autoimmune clients, if you are hurting, if you are in pain, your blood sugar is going to be higher. That cortisol spike is going to have a higher blood sugar. Sweetheart, you're going to have a harder time losing fat. So then you can't tell me that you hurt and then you don't want to follow my meal plan at the same time because you are the poster child for my meal plan because you have to turn the pain off and you have to keep the sugar low at the same time or you will not lose weight. So to all of my autoimmune clients and friends and family out there, if you hurt, the rules are different. And your job is to get that pain down. And as a naturopath, I'm not a big fan of doing a whole lot of medications. And my clients know that. So when I say get the pain down, I'm talking about a lot of natural remedies to do that. But if you have achy joints, if your neck hurts, your back hurts, you wake up and you're stiff, that's the reason you don't lose fat. Like, that's it. We can stop the conversation there. So you're not going to lose fat until you help me get that pain under control in your body. And while we're doing that, you must follow all the other rules. You fall into a whole different category. You don't get to do things that you see other people do. That's just the hard reality. Once your body calms down, then we get to talk about bending the rules. Okay, but you got to follow the rules before you get to bend the rules. So I am preaching to somebody in that moment, and I feel your pain literally, but you have got to follow the program if you are up against any sort of autoimmune issue. I don't care what kind of autoimmune presentation it is. So pain is a big one, and the pain epidemic is huge in our country, and that is part of why so many people struggle as well, okay? And when you're throwing the medications on top of it, a lot of them burden the liver as well as cause problems for the digestive tract, which increases the level of inflammation, which really blocks our ability to lose weight, okay? So it's this whole tangle of things to work on. All right, so sugar. You have heard me say sugar. Now, you heard me say sugar with pain. You heard me say sugar with lack of sleep. So sugar is showing up a lot. High blood sugar or slightly elevated blood sugar is going to make it so you're more insulin resistant. The whole reason I do the Crave Detox lifestyle, I created the Crave Detox bar, is because metabolic syndrome, higher cholesterol, higher blood pressure, higher blood sugar, all those things make it difficult to lose weight. It create a higher insulin level. As sugar goes up, insulin goes up, right? But the idea over time is that your brain becomes a little insulin resistant, so you don't actually pull that sugar down anymore. So then you end up with a higher level of sugar in your system. You are not going to lose fat in the face of sugar. And it just is over time, through wear and tear and just aging, a lot of us are just not as sensitive to sugar, that's not the right way to put it, to insulin and being able to lose sugar and bring it down as we're supposed to be. And that's just an acceptance of that. Absolutely. It's just an acceptance of that. I think it is the graceful piece of growing older, okay? And if you are exercising really hard, you are increasing your sugar, so you're making all of this a lot harder. So this does require strategy. It does require strategy, okay? So sugar and high carbohydrates are gonna be a reason why you cannot lose fat. So you have to drop that sugar down in the diet. You have to, all the fruit. I know it's natural, and I'm sorry I hurt everybody's feelings, but I hope you got a lot of fruit in when you were younger, because in your 40s and 50s and 60s, we're not going to eat the same amount of fruit as we did when we were younger. It's just not going to happen. And if you're having any of the problems that I've already mentioned, it just is about acceptance, and you have to meet your body where it is and not where it isn't. The act of being frustrated and resentful towards your body and its processes, guess what that does? It makes you more inflamed. That level of cortisol that comes with being stressed out and mad at your body because it just won't do what you ask it to do, raises your stress hormones and raises your inflammation. So you have to accept where your body is and try to work with it, okay? So pulling the carbs down and figuring out what your special carbohydrate threshold is your job, okay? Everyone's is different, and it has everything to do with your history, okay? If you grew up in a stressed out household and everybody was yelling and everything was dramatic, and then you had a dramatic experience in your 20s at your first few jobs, and then you had a stressful experience with kids and your relationship, and God forbid there was a divorce of any kind, I promise you what, you cannot handle sugar anymore, because you have spent years being stressed out. So you have got to pull the sugar down in your diet, because your body is not responding anymore the way it's supposed to, because it gets tired of that much cortisol and that much stress. And that's just the reality. It's the acceptance of where your body is, okay? So you've got to change your diet. You really do. And if there's diabetes in your family, anyone around you in any shape or form, you really have to be mindful about the level of sugar that you can handle. Inactivity or too much, okay? So sugar, inflammation. No, you cannot sit there and not exercise, and walking is amazing and I love it, but I do think you need to do walking and some sort of strength training and occasional HIIT. So what you heard me say is no inactivity. Inactivity is not going to work. Walking is great. I think that is fantastic, especially for stress relief. I personally think that barre, Pilates, regular good old-fashioned strength training, and then a little bit of high-intensity interval training is perfect. Boot camps and high-intensity, super stressful stuff is only appropriate for certain body types, okay? Not everybody's going to be able to get away with that. That's going to create too much sugar, stress, cortisol, and inflammation in the body. If you work out and you are sore for 4 days, that is not a badge of honor. That is a way to not lose fat. Okay, I will say it again. Being sore does not get you a gold medal. That tells you that you did too much and now you are inflamed and you are not losing fat during that period of time. So you need to be a little uncomfortable. You do not need to be wrecked. That is not what you're going for, unless you were 22, which you're probably not if you're listening to me. So you need to take it easy with your body. Okay, infection. Every time I run a GI map, a client has H. pylori. What is H. pylori? It's a bacteria that's in the stomach that remodels the gut. It does not like the acid that's in the stomach. It takes the acid down. It causes things like ulcers and acid reflux and all kinds of things. And it means that you're not digesting. Let me slow that down. You are not digesting the food that you're eating, nor are you breaking down the supplements that you are taking. I am floored by how often I run labs and people have H. pylori. It's shocking. Present company included, okay? So it's really easy to pick up and it's really easy to share in a household. That causes inflammation. So if you have gut inflammation, you're going to have a hard time losing fat. You have got to get infections, subclinical infections under control. That's overgrowth of candida, that's H. pylori, that's parasites that you didn't know that you had, that's bacterial infections, that's viruses. Herpes and Epstein-Barr, if you're constantly having flares and outbreaks, you are going to have a very hard time losing fat because your system is inflamed because it's at war with an invader or an intruder. And so I just think if you just heard me, that means if you don't sleep, you're eating too much sugar, you have some sort of virus or bacterial overgrowth, and you are like everybody else and you're stressed out or you're emotionally stressed or, something's going on, it's going to be very hard for you to lose fat. Right? So there's a lot more going on with the fat loss than just calories in, calories out. You have to take a full inventory. So subclinical infections are a really, really, really big one. Last one, and I'll wrap up and I'll take any questions if you have them. Fasting. So I fasted today until 12. I fasted yesterday until 2. Today is Saturday. On Thursday, I got to work. It was 9 o'clock. That was as late as I could go. And I was like, where's my Crave Detox bar now? Okay. I am eating. I don't care what the clock says. If I start feeling like I'm a little shaky or headachy or I'm really hungry, we're breaking the fast. Okay. Let me get a sip of water. So I want you to take into consideration what I just said. I know that my body is already under stress. I know that my body is dealing with a lot. It's in the middle of a lot of healing work. It is doing the best it can. Fasting is supposed to activate autophagy. Autophagy is about healing until it's not. Until your brain has made it about some time, some number that you have to hit, and it's now illogical, and your poor stressed out hormones are like, girl, we cannot do this. Cortisol levels are high in here. We need food. We're up against something that you don't even know is going on. Will you please feed us? So with fasting, I just want to encourage you to be responsible. Intuitive fasting is about honoring where your body is from one day to the next. Some days you're going to be a champ. You slept well, your body's in a great healing mode, you're not mad at your husband or your wife, your kids are not driving you crazy, your boss is okay, everything is all right, and you can fast until 4. Great. Some days everything is falling apart and somebody is in the middle of a debate driving you crazy and you can't fast past 8 a.m. And that is how you fast. That's how it's supposed to look. Women, you have to follow different rules than men. I actually tell most women to start with fasting at 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and add an hour. If you are tired, you're not fasting properly. If you are brain fogged or you can't function well, your fasting's not working. Fasting is supposed to make you feel amazing, total mental clarity. If when you break your fast, you feel like you're about to pass out, now you have to go to sleep, something is wrong, you're having some problems with insulin. Do not break your fast with a bunch of sugar or a bunch of fat, okay? You need to make sure you have a balanced small meal when you break your fast. And I have strong feelings about fasting and then eating more toxic food during the feeding window. Okay, so fast food, junk food, processed food. The whole point of fasting is to clean your body out so that if you then turn around and you're eating things that aren't healthy for you during your feeding window, I think you're missing the point, okay? So those are my thoughts on fasting. All right, so rolling it back, okay. If you're not losing fat, you need to be thinking about inflammation, and that is coming from all kinds of directions. The rules for fat loss are very different 35 and on. It just totally is. When you start looking at being perimenopausal or menopausal, if you've had a hysterectomy, if you have PCOS, if you have any of these things going on, if you are not sleeping, or if you are in pain, if you have food sensitivities, if you have subclinical infections, all the rules change. All the rules change for fat loss, okay? And so take what I said into consideration and kind of go back. If you came in late, please start over, watch the whole thing, and try to take stock of which of these you can leverage. Here's the takeaway, though. Here's the beautiful, easy thing that you can do. Get some sleep, okay? Really, really, really work on sleep. Pull the sugar down in your diet, because if you have a lot of things going on in your body that are raising your sugar and you have high cortisol, if you are one of my clients and you have a high ACE score, you had a traumatic childhood and your body's like, look, you're 43 and I give up, I'm tired of all this, we've been stressed out for 40 years, and you know that, you really have to do the basic stuff of changing your diet, pulling the sugar down. Don't fast when it's not appropriate for you. Figure out if you're supposed to be eating 3 meals a day. Fix that, okay? Fix that. You will lose weight if you just get the food right, pull the sugar down, and you look at the food sensitivities and you get some sleep. You can lose weight. Then look at your exercise. Are you not exercising? Are you exercising incorrectly? These are the low-hanging fruit that you can change very quickly. Some of these other things that I talked about, subclinical infections and pain, and yeah, really those kinds of things, subclinical infections, pain, and those things, that's going to be the next level. Medications that have your liver a little too toxic, that's the next level. But do the easy things first. That's why I've created the Crave Detox Lifestyle. That's why I have the bar. It's all about low inflammation eating, low inflammation living. So I'll talk more. I'll be doing more pop-ups. If you want to send in questions for the pop-ups, you can always email my assistant at Denise at frlwithtiffany.com. I'll be doing more pop-ups. I think Justin, my husband, will be joining me for the pop-ups. We get a lot of questions that I don't like email. I've had some sort of aversion to email for years now, and I don't like trying to navigate emails. My brain is very relational, and I like engaging with people, so I'd much rather talk than I ever would trying to write things out and communicate that way. So I want to build awareness around these types of things. I want you to know about the programs that are available to you, especially as you go through the holidays. So my husband and I will probably do some pop-ups together, and I will be popping up myself. Do we have any questions? And Miss Helen, you are very welcome, and I hope you're hanging in there and working your program. And hey there, Miss Stephanie. Do you have any questions before I go? Thank you, those of you who joined me live. I appreciate it. I know I talk on and on, so I hope you got something that was useful. And I will get going here soon if we don't have any questions. And if you have questions later, you can put them under the video, and I will probably pop up again next week and then try to tackle some questions. I also, on one of my other posts, I put up kind of all the different things that I do. So I don't want just questions about inflammation and toxicity. You can ask kind of anything, and it might fit with, oh, absolutely, Miss Lisa. It might fit with my wheelhouse. I have a very large wheelhouse at this moment. And let me say this, the Crave Detox bars are on sale for Halloween and support of a low inflammatory Halloween. So please visit the website and get that discount. You don't even have to have a code. Just go to cravedetoxbar.com and you can I think it's 20% off immediately when you place your order. And then the Crave Detox Lifestyle Plan is 50% off again, which makes it $70, and you get tons of weekly support and monthly support in that program. All right, everyone, you have a wonderful weekend, and please put some of this to good use. I will see you soon.